Book of Thor, Chapter 4. In the 4th year of Dawn, under Thor, son of Jehovih, he received from the holy council in Buru of Donga in Etheria a dispensation from the Orion chiefs, decreeing to the earth 100 years' travail and Vosant. 2. Thor called up Wak, god of Rhines, and said unto him, A sore travail hath Jehovah put upon these heavens. Go thou to Helu, and command him to provide an avalancha sufficient to deliver 20,000 million atmosphereans to the Aegean forest of Ganaya. 3. For the inhabitants of these heavens are too dark to endure the Vosant of 100 years, and would be precipitated to the earth and engage in feudalism. 4. Wak, god of Rhines, knowing the condition of the atmosphereans, proceeded at once to Helu, informing him of the decrees of the higher heavens, and of the command of Thor, son of Jehovih. 5. Thor then sent word to his lords and marshals, informing them also of his command, and further commanding them to bring from all parts of earth and heaven all the lowest grades of angels, to be concentrated in Gao, to which place the avalancha was to come for them. 6. Thor appointed Tysianish, goddess of Ares, to superintend the reception of the angels and to arrange them for entrance into the avalancha, and he gave into her command, to assist her, 5,000 marshals and captains and 1,000,000 esenars, and these she apportioned to their respective duties and places. 7. To accomplish all this, Thor allotted 77 days, Earth's time, and so wisely were carried out all the proceedings that on 77th day the avalancha was on hand, and all the angels ready to enter therein. 8. Accordingly, these things were accomplished. The 20,000 million angels were carried away on the avalancha, which was walled around on every side with pillars of fire, so that not one spirit could escape, even were he chaotic or imbecile. And Wak and Helu had the entire charge of the migration, and they proceeded upward and outward from the earth, 7 diameters of the earth's vortex, which brought them into the forest of Ganaya, where they landed them. 9. Tysianish, goddess of Ares, had charge of the 20,000 million, and she had previously sent thither a sufficient force of angels, wise and strong, to provide for the reception. 10. So that when the avalancha landed, all things were in readiness, and the angels were apportioned to different sections of the Ganaya forest, according to their development, and proper officers and teachers were provided unto them. 11. By Tysianish were these things done, and she established a throne of Agi, and provided a temple of council, and all such things as are required in the government of a new colony. And, to reign after the expiration of dawn, she provided a god in Ganaya. She promoted to this one Hazadeka, a surveyor in Thalassia, the 3rd heaven of Gao, and she gave him the title, God of Ganaya, for 400 years. 12. Now, in reference to founding an Aegean habitation in Etheria, this account is rendered unto mortals and angels of the lower heaven. Amidst the Ethaic waves, the Etherians gather up the atomic elements floating therein, and giving them axic motion, propelling them forth, aggregating the while, till, from a mite, it groweth as large as the whole earth, but is habitable within and without by the spirits of the dead, the angels. 13. Jehovah said, In likeness of the solid earth and stars and moon that float in the unseen firmament, so made I atomic parts to all things, and made them to float in eth. As the earth is to the air and the ether above, so is an atom of copper to the ethaic solution. 14. Jehovah said, Think not, O man, there is but one member in my person, and that different conditions and states of that one comprise my universe. The foolish man had said, The blood is the flesh and bones, and that the flesh and bones are but a state of blood. But he seeth not that I make not flesh out of blood, but out of that the blood carrieth. And in like manner carry I the corpor of my person in the eth of my being. 15. Now, as to Thor, son of Jehovah, after the departure of the avalancha, He provided a new god into the earth and her heavens, and crowned him and bestowed upon him the triangle which had been handed down since the habitation of the earth by man. 16. As for the remaining time of dawn, Thor traveled around about the earth and her heavens, making records thereof, to be carried with him to Buru in the time of the ascent. 17. In consequence of the depletion occasioned by the resurrection of the 20,000 millions to Ganaya, God and his lords were greatly relieved of their burdens in Gao and on the earth. Chapter 5. Peace and prosperity were established on earth and in heaven by the time of the expiration of the dawn of Thor. And now came the time for his own ascent with his host, leaving the earth and her heavens in care of God and his lords. 2. So Thor, son of Jehovih, sent swift messengers to Etheria, asking to be delivered and asking for the deliverance of 6,000 million brides and bridegrooms to Jehovih. 3. Si Wang, goddess of Oahspe in Etheria, was appointed by the council in Buru to descend for Thor and his host, and his 6,000 million. 4. Accordingly, Si Wang built her ship and gathered in her host for the journey, her 10 million. This then was the make of her ship, which she named Harp, to wit. 5. The photosphere was flat to the north and south, but oval east and west. The openings were on the flat sides with passages through. The crescent described a circle of 3,400 miles, and the depth of the harp north and south was 300 miles. The pillars of fire that ascended from the midst were 1,700 miles high. 6. The stars within the photosphere were provided with 5 points, and each star had 1 million chambers, one chamber being allotted as a habitation of one bride or bridegroom. And there were 7,000 of these stars. 7. The framework was crystalline and opaque, and transparent, and of all possible colors and shades and tints. Now, besides the stars and their chambers, the base of the crescent was provided with a saloon sufficient for 1 million musicians, and they were thus situated. 8. God had knowledge of the coming of Si Wang, and had commanded information to be sent throughout Atmospheria, and to the lords located on earth, inviting all who chose to come and witness the ascent. And there thus came, besides the brides and bridegrooms, 2,000 million angels, many not yet delivered from the first resurrection. 9. So it came to pass, Si Wang, goddess of Oahspe, came down in her ship of fire, even to the foundation of Gao, came in great magnificence, and was received by Thor and by God and his lords. 10. And she ascended the throne, and performed the marriage rite for the 6,000 million. And after that, a recreation of 1 day was proclaimed in Gao, during which time the Atmosphereans and Etherians mingled freely together. 11. On the day following, Thor accompanied Si Wang to her ship, and their hosts went in also, being nearly 7,000 million. And then, amidst a rain of Etherian flowers, Si Wang started her fire ship upward. 12. God and his hosts remaining in Gao saluted in the sign, Jehovih forever, which was properly answered by the ascending millions. 13. Then on its axis turned the great ship, rising and turning higher and higher, and in a little while only an ascending star was seen, and then it disappeared in the distance. 14. Thus fulfilled Thor his great mission in dawn to the earth and her heavens. Chapter 6. Again, the earth and heaven prospered for another season of 200 years, and the next dam there were delivered 5,000 million souls. And new gods and lords succeeded, and they also prospered, but not so well. The next harvest was 4,000 million souls. 2. But again, false lords and false gods began to set up kingdoms of their own, in heaven and in the cities of mortals. And lo and behold, everyone called himself either Thor or Apollo, and the spirits who manifested in temples for the oracles all gave one of these names. And mortals who were obsessed believed themselves to be the reincarnation of Apollo or Thor, and the obsessing spirits so called themselves. Others, more intelligent, said, Have not the prophets foretold there was to be a second coming of Apollo? And are not these spirits who appear through the Sargis the very person? 3. So great became the superstition of the nations of the earth, that in the fall of the leaf they found proof of the second coming of Apollo or Thor. Many of the spirits deserted the second resurrection in heaven and returned to the earth to wait for information concerning the coming event, as they supposed, though there was no event coming. 4. Jehovah said, all corporeal worlds pass through the age of too much belief. As I gave a man judgment that he might examine and weigh a matter, so runneth he into unbelief. Then my angels go to him, and show him wherein he believeth too little. But lo, he goeth to the other extreme, believing in all things, and not using his judgment. 5. God said, why will not men and angels be patient, and wait till a matter is proven meritorious before they pursue it to extremes? The same sun shineth, the same stars stand in the heavens, and the earth travelleth steadily on her way. Yea, her winds blow, her summers and winters come as in the olden time, yet man setteth up that a great wonder is near at hand. And no wonder cometh, and nothing new is near. 6. How shall I stay them, O Jehovah? Their desires for Apollo call down millions of spirits from my place of resurrection, and in trials and hardships they fall, and become suitable prey for designing false gods and false lords. 7. But there came no other salutation than the echo of God's own words. So God and his lords bewailed the darkness of earth and her heavens. 8. But high up in the ethereal heavens came the light of Jehovah, came the voice of Jehovah, saying, 9. Hear your Creator, O ye gods and goddesses. Behold the magnitude of my works. I labor not for the profit of this man or that man, nay, nor for this people nor that people, nor for the inhabitants of one star and one heaven, but for the glory of millions of stars and millions of heavens. 10. Doth not one corporeal man bewail a shower of rain? And yet his neighbor rejoiceth thereat. One man prayeth for sunshine, and another for shade. Think not that I labor for each one separately, but for the perfection of the whole. Wherefore then shall the God of the earth and his lords bewail the darkness that falleth on the earth in this day? 11. I have prepared places of darkness in the ethereal firmament, and places of light, and my corporeal worlds must travel through them, for so I created them. And these places of darkness and places of light are as changes of season for my harvest. 12. Now doth the earth pass in deep darkness, for I fructify the races of men in new growth, corporeally for things that shall come after. As they absorb from the agi of my places in this age, so also do their souls become full of superstition and darkness. 13. Thus went the earth into great darkness during the last 600 years of the cycle of Thor, and there was no harvest from her for the ethereal heavens. But the spirits deserted Atmospheria in millions and millions, and went down to earth to dwell with mortals, and to find places on the corporeal earth where to live. 14. And save to the eye hands, the light of Jehovah was shut out from men. Thus ambition for improvement was at an end. They became as drones and vagabonds, and when they died, their spirits continued to lie about in the places of their mortal life. And many of these spirits persuaded mortals to suicide, and they killed themselves by thousands and tens of thousands, nor was there courage more amongst men to endure anything under the sun. They wanted to be with the spirits of the dead, to talk with them, to see them, and to be rid of earth trials. 15. Neither had the spirits that congregated on earth any knowledge of the higher heavens, nor could they impart knowledge as to where they dwelt, or how they employed their time, for in fact they did nothing useful to earth or heaven, nor even to themselves. 16. Thus ended the cycle of Thor, and it was 3,200 years. End of Book of Thor.